Students, welcome to Soras's classes. In this video, I will be solving a question from IES 2016 paper 3. Now here we have to explain what do we mean by chain index number, and then we have to discuss its advantage and disadvantages over the fixed base index number. So first we have to define what is chain index number, then we have to say what are its advantages and disadvantages over the fixed base index number. So let us first start with the definition of chain index number. Now, in this method of chain index number, there is no fixed base period. So it has no fixed base year, and so the base year, it is taken as the year immediately preceding the one for which the price index has to be calculated. So the base year, it is assumed to be the year immediately preceding the one immediately preceding the one for which the price index has to be calculated, for which the price index has to be calculated. So suppose, for example, we have to find out the price index for year 1993. So if we have to find the price index for the year 1993, then the base year would be the base year would be 1992. For 1994, the base year would be 1993, and so on. So the base year, it is the year immediately preceding the one for which the price index has to be calculated. So the link relative of the current year, so the link relative of current year, so I am writing current year as CY. So the link relative of current year, it is equals to price in current year divided by price in previous or preceding year. I am writing it as PY into 100. So this link relative of the current year, it is equals to price in current year divided by price in the preceding year or previous year into 100, or this P n minus 1 comma n, this is equals to Pn divided by Pn minus 1 into 100. Now there are certain advantages and disadvantages of this method. Now, so the advantages of chain index number is that, so first we will talk about the advantages. So one of the chief advantage of this chain index method is that the price relatives of a year, they can be compared with the price levels of the immediately preceding year. So the businesses that are mostly interested in comparing this time period, that is comparing with the just previous time year rather than a distant past, they can utilize this method. So here, that since the price relatives of a year, price relatives of a year, they can be compared with the price levels of immediately preceding years, with the price levels of immediately preceding year, So, for the businesses which are interested in comparing the two consecutive years, this method can be very useful. So, for the businesses that are mostly interested in comparing the current time periods, current time periods This method is very useful for these businesses where mostly, that is, the businesses that are mostly interested in comparing the current time periods, that is, the time periods that are closer to each other rather than comparing it with the time period in distant future. So for that, this method of chain index number, it is very advantageous. Now the next advantage of this chain based method is that it is possible to include new item in an index number or delete old item that are much no longer important. So we can input or we can include and or delete so we can include new items and we can delete old items that are no longer important. So this chain method, that is chain index number method, here it helps in including and deleting items which was not possible in case of fixed base method. So this inclusion and deletion, it was not possible with the fixed base method. So this is another advantage for the chain index number. Now one of the disadvantage of this method is that the comparisons cannot be made over a long period. So the disadvantage is that the disadvantage of this method, that is this chain index method, it is that it cannot be made over a long period. It cannot be made over a long period. So these are the advantages and disadvantages of chain index number, where the base year is not fixed and the previous year, that is the year prior to the year for which we are calculating the index number, that is the prior year, it is considered or assumed to be the base year.